Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to B-Ball Breakdown. I went through the Spurs-Clippers game last night, and I saw some good things from the Clippers, but also some troubling things that Vinny Negro is going to have to sort out if they want to try and win some games this year. Let me show you what I mean. Vinny Negro was taking his offensive stylings to the West Coast, and it looks just about as bad as it did with the Bulls. Here, Gomes should be screening down for Eric Gordon, but instead he flares out. Eric Gordon's upset because he didn't screen down. So now the offense is stalled. When in doubt, screen and roll, I guess. The ball comes back on top. There is no more movement. They have to dump it down with no time on the clock and hope that Blake Griffin can bail them out. The Spurs on defense have some trouble with hedging. Here, DeJuan Blair should be much higher to stop the penetration, but instead he lets him turn the corner. Richard Jefferson should be over a few steps, but Blake Griffin gets in the seam and hits a really nice three-point play. In contrast to the Clippers' unimaginative offense, watch how Ginobili goes all the way around, gets 3 screens in a row. You're going to see Gordon call for a switch, but Gomes is sleeping, so Gordon is stuck trailing. Ginobili does his thing and gets into the lane for a nice-looking runner. Here's why the Clippers need some more practice with their offense. They feed the post, Bledsoe is supposed to dive to the basket, and then Gomes will take his spot and be wide open for a jump shot. Instead, Gomes is walking around out there. The Spurs do a beautiful switch, and Kaman is left to nothing but pitching it to Gordon for a desperate shot in the corner. Blake Griffin still needs to learn a little bit about weak side defense. He should step up here and try and stop the penetration. Instead, he stays on his man and they get a layup. That said, the future looks real bright with plays that Griffin makes like this. Here's how clever the offense is for the Spurs. Because Duncan is screening away, Kaman is distracted and can't come over and help on Tony Parker's little jump shot. This play pretty much symbolizes the Clippers in a nutshell. Over penetration, and then he dribbles back out with his back to the basket, which of course gets stolen. But then there's a loose ball, he picks it up, gets all the way to the free throw line and pulls up for a jumper and nails it. Bledsoe has a lot to learn out here. He gets a great steal from Duncan and leads the break, but he's so happy with his little slick pass, he doesn't realize there's 2 Spurs back, there's not going to be a dunk, and he runs right out of bounds, leaving Gomes out to dry with no pass back to him, resulting in a turnover. Watch Blake Griffin's transition defense. He's got a lot to learn out here. He doesn't even turn his head as Tony Parker blows right by him. Here's Eric Gordon's amazing slam off of the out of bounds play. Really a terrific play, the crowd goes nuts, but I want you to watch something more important. On the weak side, you're going to see Bledsoe just walking around out there, happy to dunk, doesn't get back, and meanwhile, they get a layup on the other end because he's not in position. It was a pretty awesome dunk, though, on Duncan, no less. Vinny needs to work a little bit more on team defense. Here, Aminu is in position, but needs to close out on the shooter instead of helping out on the penetration. He gets stuck in no man's land, and they get a wide open shot. Here's an interesting offensive set that Del Negro put in. You're going to have 2 guys standing above the three-point line holding their shorts. However, it proves effective because Blake Griffin can garner enough attention that Chris Kaman can slide to the basket for a pretty tough reverse. There's no question that Griffin's going to be Rookie of the Year if he keeps up these kind of plays. However, how good is this guy, a 26-year-old rookie Gary Neal, teardrop over Kaman? And here's Aminu, not quite ready to play small forward, don't you think? The only thing worse than this Bledsoe shot is the fact that the offense wants him to take this shot. This is the first time I see the Clippers running a nice team offense where they do a high post and a split. However, Smith screws it up on the handoff by throwing it too hard, and then naturally he's mad at himself, so he commits a flagrant foul on the layup. You can see here how dangerous a foul like that could be. Here's a play I'm sure Bledsoe made 1,000 times at Kentucky, but it ain't going to work in the NBA, especially when there's a wide open guy in the corner to pass to. This changed the game and gave the Spurs an 8-point lead, and they never really lost control after that. As the Clippers lose control, they're trying to run a play, and they only now start the offense, but there's only 12 seconds left to go on the shot clock. You can't waste that much time getting into a set, and here's the shot they end up getting. This looks just like the Bulls from the last 2 years. The offense wants him to go to the basket and put his head down and throw up wild shots. At this point, they haven't scored in over 4 minutes, so they dump the ball down to Blake, no cutters, no movement, and pray that he can get a shot off, which he does. In one of the last highlights for the Clippers in the game, Ginobili inexplicably gambles stupidly, and Gordon gets a monster jam. At a crucial point in the game, the Clippers don't really have an offense. They get two guys kind of trying to screen for the ball. It looks really disorganized though, and Gordon's just dribbling the ball all over the place. They ultimately get bailed out by a tough shot that really almost had no shot of going in. Meanwhile, the Spurs get organized, get spacing against the zone, go do a quick hitter to Duncan in the middle, and then out to the corner for a three. This is how you win games. And if you're in the zone for too long, the other team gets used to it and gets better and better shots. The Clippers have to get better at feeding the post and cutting to the basket. Because there's no movement, Kaman gets stuck and ends up throwing the ball away. And lastly, Blake Griffin still needs to get better on the weak side defense help. You're going to see Ryan Gomes calling it out that he should move over. When Duncan slips the screen, Blake Griffin has to be there to stop it. So there you have it, folks. The Clippers aren't quite on par with some of the elite teams in the West. And if they hope to make a playoff spot, they better clean up their defense and their offense. Blake Griffin, really good. Eric Gordon looks really good too. But the Spurs look too good across the board as a team, and that's going to make the difference between a winning team and a good season for the Spurs and a not-so-good season for the Clippers. So we'll see what happens with them, but stay tuned for our next breakdown. And don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, it's not a channel, it's a conversation.